Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Player Engage podcast. Greg here. Today, we are joined by Sharon Fisher. She leads the Trust and Safety Department at Keyword Studio. She's been a guest on our podcast before and a bunch of webinars. She's all over the place at Keywords. We're excited to talk trust and safety because it's always been near and dear to our heart. And there's some cool stories that's come out recently, not cool, scary stories that's come out recently in the world about trust and safety. So let's talk about them. But before we go on, Sharon, thank you for joining us again. Anything you want to say about yourself?
I love the energy. We just match energy, so this is always very explosive. So hi, thank you for having me back here. I'm really happy to say hello to everyone. Sun is shining, it's summer, and it feels like it. And it's me, Sharon Fisher, the head of Trust and Safety here at Keyword Studios. We're going into 2 years of building this solution here at Keywords, and what we can share from last year to this year in everywhere, internally at Keywords and externally, is very exciting. So happy to join, and let's talk about what's happening in the world. You say exciting, interesting, it will be my word, but it's also what we deal with every single day in trust and safety. So one more line to the tiger, I think it's the saying.
You know, it's funny because we did another trust and safety a few weeks ago, and all of a sudden there's a story that comes out that a New Jersey man, I'm from New Jersey, so maybe not proud to say this story, was playing a game, flew down to Florida, tried to kill someone. There's another story this morning, and this is on, what month is this? June 28th, that someone's threatening Nintendo. There's a lot of it seems to be around kind of these games that are exploiting, maybe it's not exploiting, that it gets dopamine and people get very serious about these games. So before we even talk about the players, right? There are trust and safety people that are watching these things going on. How do trust and safety people even monitor this stuff? And maybe this isn't even a question that can be answered. Like, how do teams get in front of this? How can they look at tools that maybe try and prevent stuff like this from happening?
And I think that's the key thing, prevention, right? So first off, moderation by design is so important in these cases, in every case of trust and safety, but in these specific ones where literally is real time and real life threatening, we have to make sure that we get to these cases as soon as possible. So there's many pieces here to speak about. How do we get to those things and that kind of conversation, right? In this case, let's assume that it's an interchange there of like, well, you and me and well, I'm going to go kill you. There has to be some kind of intelligence there that is able to look into it and get these signals. There's signals that we call, where it's like there could be voice chat there could be text, there could be images that change. This is what I'm going to do with you, links, all of those pieces where technology is really key for our superhero moderators to actually get that alert. So when you're looking into creating this kind of preventive moderation, you have to think about this. How can I give the superheroes moderators as many tools as possible to make a call and be like, I don't need to make a call because this is about the game. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to do this to you within the game, versus, hey, alarm here, alarm there. This user is known by being violent. This is like getting to a certain trigger, and then the moderator actually looking into it and creating a report so authorities can do something about it, or at least look into it. So, and then there's the other side to your point. They are exposed to these kind of challenges very often, right? So how do you keep a superhero moderator well-being after being exposed to this and all of the stress that comes with it, putting together reports in order to be as fast and efficient as possible, because this is something that hopefully we can get to a point that we can prevent this guy actually showing up at somebody's door and like threaten somebody's life, right? So there's the other side of well-being of the superhero after dealing with these kind of cases. Pause. Thank you for doing this for the world. Now let's make sure that you have the elements necessary to come back and try to literally make your soul better after being exposed to all of this.
This is a weird direction to take it, but we are a business and we are business to business. So I want to talk about it, but it's a terrible situation when someone travels to someone to try and kill them, especially over a video game. But in this other instance, it was actually called out that it was Nintendo being threatened. And often it doesn't seem like the brand is in focus. Do you think there's a way that it can not tarnish, but can it be a negative point on a brand's reputation if they're not doing proactive stuff like this? Like, I'm trying to think why a company wouldn't, and maybe it's a budget restraint thing and whatever, it's trust and safety, but all of a sudden you start taking a look at the brand image and be like, oh, this was Nintendo, and who would think this would happen? But do you think brands often look at their image when they think about this, or I don't know?
I think in my career, I have faced like the two sides of the coin, let's say it, where there's companies that before anything, they put like the well-being of their gamers over on top of everything. Then there's the other ones that are more thinking about the brand protection. At this point with trust and safety, I don't really mind which one is it that you're going for, but do something about it. In the case of Nintendo, I believe that they have always been very, very serious about protecting not the brand, but also the users, and very restrictive, if I may say, when it comes to social. Like they are very through all, oh, how do you say it? They go through many details in order to make sure that any kind of content that is posted is safe for the users. Like I gotta say, like in 2024, maybe too restrictive, right? But that's what they stand for. So when the brand itself is targeted in these kind of situations, then that's something that we have to kind of like put back in perspective, because again, Nintendo itself is doing a really good job for the users. 2024, social media, everybody is out shooting, and you will be a target regardless. How they manage it and how they react to it, I think that's something that is more on the social environment rather.
Yeah. I feel like it's a dangerous environment we live in, where people are showing these things and talking about these things. And from a studio's perspective, right, say they don't have a big budget, right, and they want to get started, like, are there tips you could recommend? And I don't know if maybe these were tips you were at when you were at Club Penguin or before that, but like, what are some of the tips that maybe a small team that wants to make sure their community is safe, what's something that they can just do themselves to help protect their community?
First off, talk to your developers. Like developers, talk to your community people, even if it's a team of 5, right? Like you all have your expertise. And I think the biggest gap that we are trying to close now is understanding that the way that developers create the features of the game is going to impact all of this. So it always has been seen as very different pieces, and then community comes once the game is ready to go beta, blah, blah, blah. But if developers were to come and say like, hey, these are the features that we are planning to put out. There's going to be voice chat. There's going to be this. People is able to upload their content. Community, number one, can adapt and be ready for it. But they can also say, hey, by the way, when you upload an image, have you like thought that this image can be like child abuse? Developers do not have that focus, right? Like they're like, no, I was thinking they will like upload their cool maps. That's it, right? So having that conversation at an early stage is not to hinder the creativity or put the roadmap in a different direction, but it's rather to be like, oh, okay, so when I create this feature, let's make sure that there's image detection there. Also, it's going to save them so much time rather than you are in beta and all of a sudden like, oh, shoot, like we have to come back and try to fix this. That from the beginning, if we were thinking preventive moderation, we could have really avoid. Never mind the fact that when you go to beta and then your community comes, and it's so hard to get community nowadays attention into your game or your platform. Once you go live and you have already all these set rules and also an environment where no matter what I try or a bad user wants to put in there, it's not happening. So you are also creating an environment that people can thrive and actually go there and have fun without like the fear of like this person being horrible to you because you are a woman, like your race, or they don't like what you're wearing, right? Like everything when it comes from the creation and the ideation, if you think about moderation and the preventive side, there's so many ups to this that I think that's tip number one. You don't have budget, at least have the understanding that there's some tools there. They're going to be very out of the box. They might not fit your use case 100%, But let's make sure that those ones, even if they're the free ones that are out there, as your community grows, as your revenue grows, then you can start going up on the brand. I call it like, you are not going to want the Ferrari right away if you don't have that budget. Just start in the very basic Kia, but at least you have something there, and then make your way up as your community starts growing.
I love this in multiple points. And sorry, I was taking some notes here, right? First is just talk to your developers. I mean, that seems like such common sense, but I mean, every company for the most part I've ever worked at, is disjointed places between each side of the company. And that can be a company of 50 people or a company of 10,000 people. And I think it gives you a reason to talk internally and align on these things. Because yeah, you think of, oh, they're going to upload a terrible picture, whereas the developer is like, no, they're probably just going to upload a map or a new skin or something like that, right? And then you're also talking about your community, because the community is something we've always been talking about on the podcast, where you want to grow a community. You see some of these big games that are coming out there, got communities on Discord, in-app, online, all different places online. So I love this tip of just talk to these people, talk internally. It will help grow internally. And you know, you talked about things like image detection. Now we're in this whole new world of Gen AI and other AI tools coming into place, where people can adopt these types of things probably fairly simply into their tool. But from a trust and safety, you know, you start to grow, and then all of a sudden you realize, you know what, we're really good at making games. There's other people that can help me with this trust and safety things, right? So then you have a trust and safety team of superheroes that you're working with, Sharon. You are looking at AI tools, and can you tell me how your AI plus your HI, the human interaction, the human element of it, how they are working together, and maybe how things have been improving over the past few months?
I think the last 2 years have been really impactful when it comes to the adoption, obviously, of AI, but also the understanding that AI cannot just run the show, right? So when you're talking about all of these different variables, and just to name some, because I could probably take an hour on it, languages, the kind of game that you're putting out together, or platform, the nuances between Spanish from Spain and Mexico, the pop culture that is changing literally every single minute, the environment that is happening, elections are happening. Like, there are so many pieces that are now reflected on gaming, because gaming at the end, now, if you think about it in a very cool way, is also a way of social platform, right? Like, while you are in game, you are also talking about everything and anything that is happening around and is impacting that. The fact that AI is able to sort this kind of conversation, all of this kind of content, and actually bucket it in different pieces, so the superheroes or humans can come and like actually pick or be alerted about pieces that need immediate attention, that is key to us, right? Especially, again, on this era. There's also the other side where AI is obviously going and growing and learning at a pace that I cannot even imagine today. There has to still be some human intervention there to make sure that, number one, the models are being trained properly. We can go again 10 hours into who trained that model, how was that model built, what's the intent of the response of this AI. Like, we need, as human, to keep challenging and not just like go blindly to it. It's like they're going to make the best decision ever. When you think about AI and the way that it's being trained, let's say that somebody posts something and the first comment on that post is going to be against that. Well, what do you think that? The second one is going to be probably the same. And the third one is going to be just people looking at it and just eating popcorn. If AI understands that as like, yeah, humans don't like each other and the other ones don't really mind, like we are training with our behavior AI on that sense. So being more involved, and this is where the superheroes become more and more important, and why I believe when people ask me very, very often now, are humans going to be replaced by AI? Sure, they can be replaced. However, do we want them to be replaced? Do we want AI to make all of the calls when you don't even have an understanding of who trained and why are these models in place, right? So there has to be a balance there. I do believe that we will be facing many challenges on this specific topic, especially when you think about AI cost and HI cost, and all in like AI doesn't get sick. Like there's so many pieces that people is now considering, especially in gaming when it comes to cost. But there's the other side value that the superheroes bring, with like the gray areas, the real life threat, understanding, and just even the community building. Nobody understands your community better than a human and can engage human to human.
Wait till AI starts to learn that it can take PTO. We'll be out of offices. But it's funny. We just did a webinar with Stephen Peacock, which I'm supposed to talk about. So we did a webinar with Stephen Peacock where he actually brought up the point that, more commercials are starting to, especially in fintech, we're seeing a lot of commercials that say, you can talk to an advisor. You can talk to an advisor. And, at HelpShift, we love chatbots, but it's not always the right fit always to have a chatbot. And what Stephen pointed out was that there's just some people that are, I'm going to say lonely, and I don't mean it in a terrible way, that just want to find someone to talk to. And I actually imagined in my mind that there's probably a lot of people on trust and safety that probably just are being mean online to end up talking to someone. And like, I don't know if it's some sort of therapy, but do you think there's a potential that there's always going to be a need for human in my mind, because you always need the human element. I think it's hard to replace. If you look at Zappos over the years, they always got their thing about customer service, having a human there, right? Like, yeah, you can automate it, but you still need that face. You still need that presence. And do you think from that perspective of just needing a human there for company is something that's a value of trust and safety, or do you think that falls more into a customer support side of things?
I mean, I think that the fundamental of it is like, you are monitoring social interactions, right? Like that's what you're doing here. It's social. So there has to be the other side that is also like a human that is able to bring that to the table. I don't know. Like I think, to your point, I much rather sometimes to go into the bank and talk to the teller, because I feel like there's this nuance, or there's this piece, and my experience is much better. Sometimes I'm in a rush and I'm just go to the ATM, right? But there's this element that I believe we are all craving at the end, where you are 10 hours in your computer working, and this is like all, and then you go and relax by scrolling. Like, there is this social element that is now, I feel, actually needed by other human, when you connect with someone, when you actually go for a walk, and like there still need to be that social element, or so I want to really, really wholeheartedly believe, because otherwise, like, the separation that we're creating of like actual human interactions might not be the best way to go moving forward.
Have you put thought into, and well, I guess, typically in a when it's automated, right? It's either going to ban someone, it's going to mute someone, or it's going to just let them be, depending on what they're doing, right? Are there other ways to try and help these types of people, or try and fix? Because we just did a podcast and I was talking about bullying, right? And a lot of the things that reminded me of bullying in school. It's like, the problem is, in school you can't just mute someone, right? Like, are there other methods you think to help individuals online that can be explored by these companies? Or
yeah, I think, like, for the last, I will say, 5 years, the one push that I've been trying to get our clients and like help our clients with is like, let's make sure that trust and safety or moderation is not looked as like the nanny and the hand slapping and the policing and stuff like that. If you look into the different studies that have been put out there, like, the bad actors within a community can be between 4% and 8% in a very, very bad community, right? So that means that 96%, 92% of the users are there for the right reasons. So what if, instead of like muting, banning, and all of it, that will remain in place, we were to incentivize the positive engagement, right? So actually focusing on like, hey, like, this guy didn't say, hey, newbie, get the F out here, right? Like, actually was like, oh, you should go into this store and you will get the new blah blah blah, right? Like, what if we were to incentivize that rather than just like punish the bad? I have an understanding that by shaping that, like the people that is there just for the trolling and stuff like that, at one point is like, well, why are they getting these badges? Because blah blah blah, right? They might just get tired of it and move on into another thing, or the behavior might be also changing, because that's part of building community. That's part of not being a horrible person. The same way as education, right? Like, all Mexicans should die, enter. Hey, are you sure you want to send that? Because it could be seen as racist by anyone else, right? Yes, I do. Okay, there's all the jackasses that do that. But there's also the ones like, oh, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, like, da 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 da, right? A little bit of like pause and think kind of situation where obviously at one point, and you need to really know who are you proposing these to and how like the user experience is going to be. It's not just something that you just push there, but more focus on the positive, more focus on the, again, 96% that is there for the right reasons, and then shape on that way. It's like when you have a brother, right? Like, if he gets dessert every time, why I don't? And I'm just gonna finish my food so I get dessert. Like,
Yeah, it's tough. And I like the way you put it, of kind of rewarding positive play. I think that's a great way of looking at it. And it comes down to the studio or developer wanting to implement tools like that to make sure that they're doing that. As you know, again, you've been in this for a number of years. Are there new things that you're seeing, new trends that you're seeing? Are there new things that worry you or making you feel better about kind of what the environment is looking like? It's probably a loaded question. We can sit here for an hour.
I think, yeah, I think the new trend, or the new process that I'm excited about is the fact that people actually thinks about moderation at least before going live, right? For either reason, right? The good of the war, or because I don't want to be in the news seen or fined by the new policies. So that's a win for somebody that has been like trying to tell people you need to do this. When it comes to technology and AI, I think my biggest worry here, I will divide it in two. Number one, coming back to that understanding, like 12 years ago, machine learning can do anything and everything. Forget about the humans, and AI is going to take over the world. That's worry number one for me. And at the same level, how AI on the dark side literally is being developed in order to take harassment, terrorism, any of these pieces like to the next level, right? So you understand me so much as a user that you know exactly how to get here in order to radicalization or child luring, like all of those dark sides that sadly we continue to see growing, how technology, in this case AI, is going to be making our job harder. Thankfully, we have the other side, which is like our technology partners, and we're trying to partner as much as possible to try to get ahead of the curve. But I mean, this is not breaking news. Like, all of these behaviors continue to scale to a faster way that we can make them decrease. And very in time here, or very tied to it, when I talk to developers and I tell them, did you know that if you were to create these features with these specific safety features, these numbers will decrease, right? And they are like mind blown. Like, you can actually help child luring or child abuse to decrease if you were creating these tools with all these sets and these standards.
What really is amazing to me, and maybe it's just my naiveness, is like when we first spoke a year or two ago, right? Like, I didn't realize the number one thing online was trafficking and abuse and stuff like that. I always just thought it was jerks threatening people. And then I started reading more into it and just like, wow, there's a lot of this going on. Like, and again, my naiveness here is like, why would any studio want anything like this anywhere near what they're doing? Like, is it all on social channels that can't be controlled? Like, why would anyone have any sort of leniency for this?
So there's a few approaches that I have noticed. Number one, you don't know what you have because you don't know, right? So if there's no technology and if there's a close one-to-one chat and stuff like that, and there's no a reporting process, you are totally, to your point, they are totally like this. They just see the chat going and everything is like so far so good. There's nothing actually looking into these kind of cases. When you talk about like child luring, for example, it's a process, right? Like that the predator is not just gonna come to the kid and say, hey, I want to blah 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 blah. It's a process where they learn about like the behavior of the kid, where do they go to school, the parents, like they gain their trust. Like technology pretty much is the only one that can actually look into those patterns and actually give us a red flag so we can look into it. But if there's not technology or the studios are not, there's the other side, the other reason why I've heard and sadly continue to hear is I don't want to know, because at the time that I know, I have to do something about it, which is the saddest and worst answer. But there's corporations out there making millions of dollars that actually, when I go and try to push for technology to be implemented, that's the reaction. I don't want to know, because if I know, I have to do something. It's crazy.
Ignorance is bliss.
Mm-hmm. For them it is, but yeah, it's crazy, and those are the reasons why studios want. Obviously, the financial situation, the financial is also big for them. But again, I think at this point, there's no excuses. There's tools out there that, yes, they're not going to fit your 100% use case, but they will give you a layer of security for the users and for you to be aware that these things are happening, so you can actually decrease these cases.
Yeah, there's another story that came out, I forgot, yesterday or 2 days ago, and I know nothing about this guy, but this guy, Dr. Disrespect, he's a Twitch streamer that was caught messaging in a minor. It's just like, first of all, it's disgusting. Second of all, it's like, is it good that these stories are coming out or bad that these stories are coming out? Yeah, it's good that they're getting people like this away, but like, this stuff shouldn't even exist, but I guess you need to know about it to prevent it, and it's a scary place to be.
And it's a very scary one too, because you and I are parents, and what I see out there is also a disconnection, a total disconnection of what parents know, to your point, very naive, right? And what's happening out there. And I hate to lead with the scared parents, but reality is like what's happening there and what you are allowing your kids to get into, and how you're opening doors for your kids or teens in this case to be subject to. It's something that I don't think anybody can imagine, and you should not. But the gap of education, even with schools, right? Like my daughter comes the other day and she comes with a user profile for a math something app with her full name on it. And I talked to the teacher and she's like, is her name misspelled? No, that's not the point. It's her whole name, right? So even the education for teachers and for everybody that is around kids, it's just the gap in technology understanding and what the dangers are out there. It's something that it is, I think, the biggest challenge that we have today, because if the people that is around the kids don't understand what's in the internet, then it's very hard to prevent.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Again, it kind of goes back to ignorance is bliss, but I feel like you always set the example for the generation beneath you, right? And if you're not paying attention, if you're not active, if you're not keeping an eye on them, because we know about the internet because we grew up with the internet. It's still new to our parents, and to like so we can understand it, and I'm sure our kids know things that we don't know about the internet. So I think it's communicating with them, conversing with them, understanding what's going on. In your experience, you've worked with a number of different communities that have been moderated. What happens with the overall health? Like obviously at the end the goals it improves, but like how does that, and this might be too big of a question, but how does that process even begin? Like how does proactive moderation help the health of a community?
It's everything, to be honest. Like, and I say this like in a very wide way, because it's very wide. It's good, obviously, for the good of the world. It's also good for the even understanding of how your users are imagine a game that is just put into beta and you don't have any way to actually track what people is saying, what they're thinking, like the goodness of these conversations happening, like, oh yeah, this is cool, but it's missing A, B, C, D. When you are developing a game, like that's gold there that you can really utilize in order to make the game for the users. Then you go into the next one, which is again creating this space that is good not only for humans but also for business. Like it's fierce out there, right? Like you go to the App Store and there's like so many new games that like people to get into your game, and the acquisition cost continues to go higher and higher. You finally have a user there. You want them to have the best experience. And when I say this, like sometimes I like get some pushback. I don't mean like the rainbows and like unicorns, and this is not the La La Land that I live. You can still be like a gamer, and based on whatever environment you want to create, you want people to swear, that's fine. You don't want people to swear at each other. You don't want like racist slurs in there, right? So there needs to be a base there. Again, just if you're in a playground, you're not going to be swearing. Like you behave like hopefully around like in the environment that you are. I'm in a bar, maybe I'm going to be swearing a bit. Like you have to make sure that when we talk about trust and safety moderation, is not that we want to like just change everything for you and be again in La La Land. It's more, how do you do it? Because it's a fine art to understand what your community wants, what do you want out of this game to be the community like, and how do we make sure that it benefits you not only on the creating and building a strong community, but at the end, when you do that, your money and your revenue goes higher because people want to be there. They want to spend money there. They feel like you are protecting their interests. And just, again, why would I come into the house after being stuck in traffic for an hour, swearing, blah, blah, and go into a game to get more of that? Like, no, thank you.
There's a few things you said there that I really like, and I mean, know the setting that you're in and be prepared for that setting. I remember when we used to be on sales calls, and one of our colleagues would always say, "If I'm playing a shooting game, and I tell you I'm going to shoot you in your head, you're not going to report me for that. But if we're playing solitaire and you're telling me that, there's clearly a problem there." And I think it's really important for people to understand, like, moderation isn't Big Brother. It's not trying to prevent conversations from happening in game. It's trying to protect individuals from real world threats that are being made against them. And I think companies need to realize that and maybe open their eyes and see that, you know what, there are real threats. When you go into a Discord server of a game that has hundreds of thousands of users, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. There's going to be some negative conversations that are happening there. And you might find one of your VIPs who's getting picked on, and all of a sudden that person that was spending a few $1,000s in game every month is now leaving to go to a competitive game because they don't like it there. And I think companies don't really kind of see that this whole community building, this whole protecting your community, this whole supporting your community, it really, I mean, obviously we talk about it at Keywords, but I mean, as a gamer, like that's something that's important to me because that's what I look for in a game. That's what keeps me coming back to a game. And I think there's a lot of great stuff there.
And I think what is challenging from this, and what I will say it for everyone, when you are in this space of trust and safety, it's so hard to prove the ROI of this, right? So yes, cool, you avoided somebody telling me kill the Mexican. How do you measure this, right? Like it didn't happen, so you don't leave. Like there's so many components that trust and safety. You save a life. What's the ROI of it? I've been asked that question, right? It's like, well, yeah, sorry, I don't have a number for human life. But this is where we continue to get pushed very often, which is like, yeah, it's good for community, but like how much, right? Like, or you're going to TrustCon, but how much, right? Like there's this still. And of course, this is a business, and gaming is going through like a phase that cost is really important for us to look into. But we have gone years and years to try to educate people. And that's why I say now I'm excited that either because you're going to get fined or because you actually understand why it's important, you are doing it. Now, how do I demonstrate the ROI at the end? Is trying to make sure that this is such a good environment based on your game that you are starting to, like, your profits are starting to show and your growth is there. That's pretty much the only one, but it's not because only what we're doing. It has to do with like the updates and the matching and all of this stuff. So it is a component of it that we are having a really hard time on ROIing for the decision makers and the leadership to actually see it.
Yeah, it's almost like you need like an active community members metric on who stays active. But even then, right? Like if you don't create a good game, you can have the greatest environment in the world, the greatest community in the world. But if you create a crap game, it's going to be a crap game. And what was I going to say? Something about ROI, but it's gone. I forgot it. The thing is, it's one of those expenses that companies look at. But the thing is, if one negative thing happens, that reputation can be ruined forever, right? Like there's been companies that have done such terrible things that like they're just gone. And like, yeah, it's a minor inconvenience. And even if you don't want to hire someone to do it, if you're not doing it internally yourself, right? Like maybe it puts a little extra work on your plate, but you're protecting this reputation that you built so hard to protect and to grow strong. And to think that you're just so lenient with it is something that's just like, why?
That is one of the pieces that I think we work on a few years ago when I was at Tuhar, which is like, okay, so the ROI is really hard to figure, but what's the cost of doing nothing, right? So again, I hate to lead with the scary side of things, but hey, however, like I don't know what the cost of a human life is. Sorry, I don't have a number. However, if you don't do it, now there is all these policies, there are all these fines that they're going to hit you, and it's going to be this percentage of your annual revenue. Is that scary enough? Would you do something about it? And that's the point that, like, sadly, when sometimes it's hard for leadership to take in, that's where it's like, okay, that's a big risk. I'd rather spend X amount of money in a year than this amount that is not comparable even to this, right? So we have to find some tricks there. We had to get creative.
So let's change the topic and just talk about your superheroes. How is your team of superheroes doing? Anything new going on there?
I think this is one of the pieces where I get very emotional about it, because I am at Keyword Studios 2.5 years now, and as you know, there was no trust and safety before. There was agents that were used as moderators. Today, what we have is obviously a whole role for a moderator. Moderators are called moderators, but we also have developed a whole everyday well-being program for them. There had to be some change of culture, obviously, because of like who is a moderator, what is a moderator to today, even from the leadership perspective, where I was just talking to my team this week, where it's like, I feel like now we have to back off with leadership because we've been in like well-being. And now it's on their DNA now, where like, yes, I get it. What they now understand and they do. And they're disciplined like on the everyday asking and like the different pieces that we have. But when you ask about how the superheroes are, that's where it gets like really exciting for me, because when we built this, my whole point was like, let's make sure that they see as less as possible. And when they do, they have the support that they need. But now what we are seeing as a result of that is something that I would have never imagined. People stays longer, obviously, with us, and there's not that rotation. But there's also, even in their personal life, reaching out and saying, hey, like, because of that, like I'm going out more. My family notices like the impact that we're having in their actual everyday life is something that I would have never imagined, because you are checking on you every day. You are actually like going through practices. We created like a calendar every month with different topics that, again, also understanding that well-being is not just yoga and meditation, right? So we have like different webinars every month that everybody has to go through. And some of them will be very impactful for one. Maybe the other ones won't be like so attached to it. But through these, we are also feeding their soul on ways that they are making positive changes in their life. We're supporting them on ways that we never imagined. And it is just And the fact that these practices are also now being pushed into other companies outside of keywords. And I've always said it, they are superheroes, and they are not just at keywords. The idea is for everybody to also look into this, no matter what company we're talking about. And yeah, I can go 10 days with this. Superheroes, thankfully, at Keyword Studios are thriving. They're excited, they are committed, and they are having their souls taken care as much as we wanted them.
You're talking through all this, and we're talking about kind of building a community and protecting the community, keeping the community safe. And that's what you're doing within Keywords. You're kind of, for lack of better words, eating your own dog food, and you're seeing how green the grass could be when everyone's cooperating, how happy everyone is. And it's just wonderful to hear that you're leading this drive and you're seeing the results, and hopefully the customers that are using it see it as well. So I give you the utmost credit, because that's beautiful to hear, and it's fantastic to hear, and I give you nothing but congratulations for that.
It's not me, it's the team. Like, that's the other piece where I continue to be amazed, because as you can imagine, in such a big company, there's also a lot of challenges where even implementing these new things, right? And thankfully, the core team that supports all of these efforts, it has gone to battle. But the one thing that is clear to me is that whenever you do something for the right reasons, in this case, it's superhero soul and well-being, good things happen because of it, right? So that has always been the goal of the trust and safety team. The company sees it, I hope, but the superheroes themselves coming to their leadership and saying, hey, this is happening in my personal life, this is how you help me. Like, it just creates more and more of a synergy to try to do more and more and more. And we even have people that is outside of our department saying like, hey, like, we have this situation, FQA, like pieces like that. How can we benefit from these programs? And that's what hopefully we will be working towards in the next year.
So Sharon, thank you so much. If there's anything I took from this, one, it's you have a whole bunch of happy superheroes because you're building that great process, which is great. But what every company should be looking into is, even if you're not outsourcing or you're hiring anyone else, internally do some stuff with trust and safety, whether it's talking to your developers, talking to the other people in your company, because every game has a community, and this community needs to be protected. There's kids, there's all different types of people that just need protection out there. And I think when you communicate and you talk with both your internal sources as well as your community, you learn more. If you are too big to grow and you're looking for external help, Sharon is available. We can talk to Sharon, we can set up these calls, but do something, because something is better than nothing. And again, protecting everyone. So Sharon, thank you so much for joining us again today. I'm looking forward to our next one, but is there anything you want to just talk about or share?
I think I'm just going to tag along on that one. It doesn't matter the size of the project that you have on, and people won't let me lie. Reach out to me on the LinkedIn. I'm happy to have a 15-20 minute conversation with you where I can add value. You can ask the questions. I'm happy to support that, because at the end, it doesn't matter who you are, if you have it, if you don't have it. The more that we do to the world, the better chances that we have to reduce all of these cases and to be more successful. So yeah, reach out to me.
We will have all of Sharon's information, Keywords information everywhere, and how you can contact everyone. But again, thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the show today, Sharon. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day and weekend.